and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy. How does anybody live and drive in Boston every single day? This guy stopped in the middle of the road with his hazard lights on. This guy won't yield. That guy won't let you go. That guy passes in front of you. That guy goes 3 lanes of traffic all in one shot. How does anybody do this?
The passion.
Look, if the Red Sox aren't going to play Yoshida and Devers as they're about to get swept, then we might as well just give up and go home.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
I'm glad that Mac Jones looks better. That's really important. He needs to look better. But if it were a video game, he'd still have an overall rating of 76, and that ain't cutting it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday here on the Brady Farkas Show. Not here for a long time, just here for a good time. 30-minute show today until Red Sox baseball. Sox took game 1 of the series from the Washington Nationals yesterday, 5-4. Game 2 of the series today. Red Sox are still 3 games back, coming into play today at the third and final spot in the American League wildcard picture. So, again, lineups come for you at about 5:55. Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio is going to stop by. He's going to be with us at about 5:45. We got to congratulate Freddie on his big promotion, so I can't wait to talk to him. You can get in on the text line, 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. Danny, Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Danny, we have a short show today, right? There's a lot of different ways I could go with this, but I actually want to key in on something you and I were talking about at a commercial break, and I want to loop the audience in here because we got to get some texters on this. 802-585-3026. So in the afternoon news service about, 45 minutes ago, I spoke to Mary Ann Leakdig over at 7 Days. And she wrote a fascinating feature, a fascinating story on the Burlington High School class of 1953. And she was talking about how the story centered on how this class has remained so close and they've remained together. They just had their 70th reunion and they've been getting together every year for the last couple of years. And I thought it was a really fascinating story, a really touching story of camaraderie and staying together and staying connected. And I made a comment about how, look, I did not go to my 10-year reunion. I graduated in 2008. I did not go to my 10-year reunion. I don't think there is a 15-year reunion. So the next chance I'll have to go is to a 20-year reunion. I said I didn't really go to my reunion because the people that I really care about from high school, I already talk to all the time, right? Like I went to a very big high school. I've said this before. My graduating class was 729. My high school was like 3,500. My high school is bigger than some colleges, some Division I colleges. My high school is bigger than. So I did not know everybody in my class. There certainly were people I didn't like in my class, and there are people I just lost touch with in my class. So there's like 10 people I still talk to from high school with any kind of semi-regularity. I have my 3 best friends. I have my best girlfriend who's married to another guy we went to high school with who's in my friend group. And then I got 2 or 3, 4 other guys like that I played baseball with, that were doing fantasy stuff together, guys who were kind of in our friends group through other people. So I'd say maybe 10 to 12 people I'm still friends with. And I was like, well, I don't really need to go to the reunion if I already talk to these people. Eventually, I'll probably fall out of touch with even more of them, and maybe the reunion will be my chance to see these people. So I'm not opposed to going to a reunion in the future. Danny said his 10-year reunion has not happened yet. Danny, when did you graduate high school?
2015.
Okay, so you're 2 years away from your 10-year reunion. You have said also you have no desire to go to your reunion, correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and I'm fine with that. I'm not going to be pot calling kettle black because I didn't go to my reunion. What struck me is kind of what you said next. You don't talk to like almost anybody from high school at this point?
It's not too many people. I would say people my age that graduated in 2015 I still talk to, but it's not from the same high school, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you had friends that are your age. They just aren't all from your high school.
Correct.
Okay, and that's fine. There's a lot of people just like that. You made a comment, though, that, like, you seem to not like the people you went to high school. Like when high school ended, were you happy to be leaving it?
Is it wrong to say yes? Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
It's not wrong. It's everybody's personal opinion. I'm just surprised because I was so far the opposite. Like I was so far the opposite. When I was devastated is too strong a word. I was very, very excited to go to college. I was very, very excited to be on my own. But I was sad to leave high school. Like, I thought high school was a blast. And I wasn't the most popular kid in school, so I don't even think it's like, like I peaked too early. Like, kids that peak too early, they're the ones who are generally sad to see high school end because they're the big man on campus and then they're nothing when they go to college. That wasn't me. I was kind of in the middle in high school. I was a two-sport athlete. That helped my popularity, but I wasn't hanging with all the cool kids. I didn't get invited to any parties in high school. Like, so I wasn't floating on air in high school, but I just thought it was cool. Like, went to a big school, went to all the games, had a bunch of friends, was on 2 teams, enjoyed a lot of my classes and the people in my classes, and I was sad to see that go. So when someone says to me, like, oh, no, I was happy to get through with high school, that always strikes me as surprising because it's not that I don't like change. I'm okay with change. I like having a group, and I like keeping that group together. Like, I still try to keep in touch with people. Like, people say, oh, let's keep in touch, and they never really do. I'm the guy who tries to keep in touch, whether it's with my high school friends or my college friends or old coworkers or whatever. I'm frequently reaching out to people. So when you tell me that basically I leave this part of my life in the past, you're not the only one that's ever told me that. It surprises me to no end because I'm like, I didn't want high school to end. I wanted to stay, and I wanted to stick with the sports and stick with my friend group and all that. The one thing I will say, and now, I went to a state school, right? I went to a state college. There are a lot of kids from my high school at my state college. My roommate was from my high school. My best girlfriend went to Oswego as well. So the kid who lived down the hall went to my high school, even though we weren't friends in high school. He lived right 2 doors down from me in college. So leaving high school and going to college in some ways felt like an extension of high school because I was around so many people from my high school group anyway. So like it was easier to leave because I was walking into a situation where I still was going to know people from my school. But I ultimately, I didn't want high school to end. And I am always surprised when people say they did. Yes, I'm waiting for you to talk. I'm waiting for you to talk. Because it's okay. You don't have to feel like I feel. I just am always surprised. It's just... and I've always thought it was a romantic notion to have friends forever and to have people you grew up with. And my dad has this group of friends that he went to high school with or that he went to grade school with. And one guy moved away, but they're still best friends, or guys he went to college with, which now at this point we're talking 40 years ago for that. And my dad is still really good friends with 4 or 5 guys that he grew up with. And I'm still good friends with 4 or 5 guys that I grew up with. 4 or 5 guys that I went to high school with where we're still good friends, where we still talk all the time, that when we're all home, we see each other. My best friend, I was best man at his wedding. He just had his first kid a couple hours ago. And on the photo, or he sent the photo to me and these 2 other guys that were best friends from high school. It's this group of 4 that we went to high school with. And I can't imagine not having that. And you have that with people, just not from your high school. But whenever people say I couldn't wait for high school to end, I'm always surprised. That's all. And it's okay if you feel that way. I thought this story about the Burlington High School reunion was really an extension of that romanticization of having friends forever. And I was like, wow, I'm jealous of that. That's cool. I could only hope that I'm friends with people 70 years after high school. I don't know that I'll get there, but I thought it was a cool story. And Danny, I felt like you thought it was impressive, but not something that you were interested in having.
I didn't want to put a wet blanket on her story. That was impressive, obviously.
Mark in Essex says, talk about sports. Sorry, Mark, it's a 30-minute show. Freddie's going to be here in 5 minutes, so we can handle it for a second. Texter says, my 50th reunion is this year, not going. That's sad to me. I would go to my 50th. My real question will be, will I go to my 20th? That's what I'll be most interested in. Will I go to my 20th? I don't know. And then when I pass 20, I'll probably be looking at it and saying, I wish I had gone to 20. I don't know. Again, with Facebook and stuff, and here's the thing I think we'll see about the generational gap or the generational stuff, Danny, is with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, I'm kind of caught up with a lot of people from high school anyways. Like, it's not like going to a reunion of the past where it's like, okay, this is your only chance to see someone. You haven't seen someone in 25 years. You have no idea what they're doing. I kind of know what people are up to. Not everybody. Again, I went to a huge school with a huge class, but I kind of know what people are up to. I don't know that I need to go to the reunion, but you people that are talking about 50th year anniversaries, you might not be as digitally plugged into everybody. I would go to that. All right. Just for Mark, because Mark asked so nicely for us to talk about sports before Freddie gets on, we will go to sports here for the 3 minutes until Freddie's on. And Danny, I want you to grab some of the audio from Tom Curran on this. Be ready to play some Tom Curran audio here. The same concerns that I have about the Patriots, I want you to know that people who cover the Patriots have. It's getting to the point where I'm not arrogant enough to think that that Patriots people are listening to our show or listening to our social media clips. I don't think that I'm that big a deal or that profound that I'm the only one who thinks these things. But it is interesting how, Danny, we say something on this show, and then hours later it appears on NBC Sports Boston or WEEI or somewhere else. Because Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston was talking about the Patriots and their lack of identity and how they're built. And he said that they don't really have an identity and they're not really built to play to any specific identity. Danny, play me Tom Curran number 4, because this is exactly what we said earlier this week.
They don't know what their identity is. They want to be all things to everybody. My contention is, Trenny, that if you can't find a way to get to 24 points on a regular basis, you're going to be in trouble. And the approach the Patriots have, where they're just kind of, we'll figure it out when we figure it out, is kind of setting yourself up to fail a little bit at the beginning of the year, no matter how good you might be later.
Couple of things here, right? So in the past, the Patriots have always used September as kind of a breeding ground to figure out what's up, right? Like, let's use September. Let's see where we're at. Let's see what we can do. And let's build from October 1st on. Can't do that anymore. You cannot do that anymore. This is what I've been saying for a couple of years now. You don't have Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady could just walk out in the dark here, and Tom Brady would help you figure it out. You'd go 2-2 through September, then you'd roll through October through the rest of the season. You can't do that this year because Mac Jones is not good enough to do that. And then 2, you can't afford to be 1-3 or 0-4 at the end of September, because if you do that, your season's over. In this AFC, 1-3 after September, your season is over, because you're going to be headed for 10th place if you start 1-3 or 0-4. You need to come out humming at the start of the season, and the Patriots aren't really built to come out humming right now because they don't know what they are, to Tom Curran's point, which is our point from earlier this week. Secondly, I really wish the Patriots would pick a lane. And this has been one of my biggest contentions over the last couple of years as well, that the Patriots will not pick a lane. Again, I want them to be a pass-first offense that's built like a modern-day offense. They're not doing it, okay? Now, all of these things have flaws. They all do. You pick one lane, you're going to ignore another, right? The Buffalo Bills have gone all in on the passing game. And then come January, we always say they're not tough enough and they can't run the football. Such is life, but they've at least picked a lane. Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley a couple years ago, Dalton Kincaid, the tight end this year out of Iowa. Like, the Buffalo Bills have said, we are going to be a passing team and we are going to use Josh Allen to do that. Okay? The Kansas City Chiefs have said, we are going to build around Patrick Mahomes and we are going to let him do things because he is special enough to do so. The Tennessee Titans say, we are going to build around Derrick Henry. The Cleveland Browns, as I used a couple years ago, built around running the football and on the strength of their offensive line. Teams have a lane. They have an identity. And yes, we might pick them apart come playoff time for not being complete, but the Patriots aren't even halfway to that conversation. They're not dynamic enough to be a pass-first team. They haven't invested enough in the wideout position to be a pass-first team, and they haven't gone all in enough on the line or on the run game to be a run-first team. They are a middle ground team that will have some games where they do this well and some games where they do that well, and they will have some games where they look better than others. And you know what you get with that? You get 8-9 or 9-8, which is where the Patriots have been the last couple of years, right? 8-9 last year, missed the playoffs. 9-8 2 years ago, make the playoffs and get trounced by Buffalo. This is what you get when you don't pick a lane You become increasingly average, and that's where the Patriots are, and that's what my worry is. Before we get to Freddie, our guy Glenn over in Brookfield. I graduated from Randolph with a class of 107, 47 years ago. I'm friends with older and younger people from my school, a dozen close friends. I'm probably friends with 40 or so others. I am going to go to my 50th. Congratulations to you, Glenn from Brookfield. And Will in Plattsburgh says, not sure they're good enough to pick a lane. False. He's talking about the Patriots. False. You pick a lane and you go with it, right? Like, a couple of years ago, the Patriots drafted Mac Jones, right? We all remember that. They drafted Mac Jones 15th overall. And I said then they need to surround him with a ton of talent, right? Surround him with playmakers. They didn't do that. Okay? They went out and they got the Nelson Aguilars of the world, but they didn't get a top flight guy. They continue to not do that this year. Well, if they realize that Mac Jones is not special enough to carry an offense, and they wanted to say, you know what, we're going to run the ball now because Mac's not good enough. Okay, they had Ramondre Stevenson. Why did they let Damian Harris go then? Why did they not draft a second-round running back to replace Damian Harris? Why did they not draft a left tackle and then draft a right tackle early on in the draft so they could go and build a bully on the offensive line? A couple of years ago when they had Cam Newton, I thought they were kind of doing that, right? They had Cam, they had Sony Michel, they had Stevenson. No, they did not have Stevenson that year, but they had Sony Michel. They had another running back whose name escapes me at the moment. They had Trent Brown. They had a more imposing line. And I thought, okay, they were built to be a physical run team. They're not really built to be anything right now. On that note, let's bring on our guy, Freddie Coleman, ESPN Radio, Freddie and Fitzsimmons. We're not going to be able to say Freddie and Fitzsimmons for long, though, because our guy Freddie got a promotion earlier this week. It was announced that in September, Freddie is going to be hosting in the 3 to 7 o'clock day part for ESPN Radio. Going to get his own show, an afternoon drive. Freddie is our man. We congratulated him earlier in the week. Our listeners had great things to say about this news. Freddie, congratulations. How are you?
I'm good, my friend, and thank you so much for those congratulations. And yeah, it's going to be really weird at the show being Fitzsimmons after doing that for 8 years, but I'm really looking forward to moving up into the time slot, the 3 to 7, working with Harry Douglas, who we've been friends for more than a minute. So there's a lot of excitement about our new lineup, a lot of excitement where our show is going to be and what we're going to do. And so we're over the moon excited about what we're going to do and how we're going to be able to make that work from 3 to 7 every afternoon.
You've been doing nights for like 20 years, Freddie. You're the king of nighttime sports radio. How is this going to change your sleep schedule?
Well, it's not going to change it so much. I mean, I'll be able to watch games at night instead of being in the studio when games are going on. So my sleep schedule will probably stay the same because I'll still be up watching games and doing those kind of things to prep and because I love to do those sort of things that are part and parcel of what I am as a human being, whether it's professionally or personally. So I don't know if it's going to change that much, but it's really going to be cool to be home and having a chance to be home with my wife and having dinner and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, we are happy for you as well. And we talked about this on Monday on our show. We wanted to congratulate you, and kind of tell the listeners what was going on. The only way it's going to affect us is that we're not going to be able to talk to you live at 5:45 because you're going to be on the air from 3 till 7. But I know you've always made time for us in the past, so we're just going to have to pre-tape in advance so the Freddie Coleman interview will still happen. We'll just have to do it a couple hours earlier.
Oh, that won't be a problem at all because our friendship means a lot to me, Brady. That's something that I want to have to go away because I really have a blast chopping it up with you no matter what the sporting event is or what the storyline is going to be. So believe me, that's not going to go away, even though I'm going to be on from 3 to 7 every afternoon starting in September on ESPN Radio.
Well, we are pumped for you. We're pumped for us. The listeners were very happy for you as well. We're talking with Freddie Coleman, ESPN Radio host, who is with us every single Wednesday at this time here on DEV. Let's talk about the Patriots, the flavor of the day in Patriots camp. Ezekiel Elliott making his debut today on the practice field. Now that the deal is official and Zeke is out on the field, your thoughts on the move?
Well, the biggest question is how much does he have left that can actually help the New England Patriots? And I think it shows even more of a commitment from this football team, Brady, that they want to be maybe not so much of a run-first team, but they want you to think about the running game to help out their quarterback. We're going to see a lot more what the San Francisco 49ers do with the Patriots we've seen in recent memory because they don't have those burners on the outside, but they believe that they can get those one-on-one mismatches and take advantage of that because they bring in Mike Gesicki, the tight end from the Miami Dolphins. They believe with their outside guys, Devontae Parker and Juju Smith-Schuster. So whatever Ezekiel Elliott can bring to the table is going to be part of a physical running kind of style of football team with him with Ramondre Stevenson. I can't wait to see exactly how they're going to use him, what way they're going to use him, and how effective that maybe he still can be for a Patriots offense that needs as many playmakers or potential playmakers to help out their quarterback and Mac Jones.
Freddie, I was listening to Marcus Spears yesterday. He echoed something Dan Orlovsky had put out on social media. The Patriots are going to zig while everyone else sags, and the Pats are going to be a run-first team. And my question would be, if this is the Patriots' plan to be a run-first team, they haven't really built themselves that way, Freddie. They got all kinds of questions on the offensive line, and if they wanted a two-headed running attack, they could have gotten Dalvin Cook, who's better than Ezekiel Elliott, for $2 million more. If this is what they're going to be, they haven't really built themselves like that, Freddie.
You are completely 100% right, because I was wondering the same thing about that as well when I heard Marcus Spears and Dan Orlovsky say the same thing. It's very important to have an identity, what you're going to do, and not allow teams to take away that identity. But if you're going to really enforce that identity or put that kind of force when it comes to opposing defenses, but you have the right components and the right pieces, then it's really going to be a mix and match and a mismatch. And mismatch football does not work in the National Football League unless you have a top-flight quarterback. And as of right now, the New England Patriots, they don't have a top-flight quarterback. They don't have a top-flight offensive line. They don't have a top-flight wide receiver or tight end. So I can't wait to see exactly how they're going to make this work, because you can play old-school football, but if you don't have a guy like a Derrick Henry or a Dalvin Cook or an Adrian Peterson from the past, then you have to wonder exactly how they're going to try to make this work in a division where right now they are the fourth best team out of 14 in the AFC East.
Yeah, I think about it exactly like you just said, right? I think about it the last 5 years, teams that have played this way and that have been successful. Okay, Derrick Henry, he's not on the Patriots, and the Cleveland Browns from the COVID year had a limited quarterback with Baker Mayfield, but they had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Last I checked, the Patriots don't have them, and that Browns team had a great offensive line, which the Patriots don't have.
Yeah, and especially with Kareem Hunt still out there, which I find mind-boggling, that if you're the New England Patriots, you want to commit to running the football, why did you go with let's call it as it is with Ezekiel Elliott, a guy that's past his prime, and a Kareem Hunt who can still get yardage for you, and they didn't make a play for him when it comes to Kareem Hunt at all. The New England Patriots still believe in their Patriot way, that they'll try to find these hidden gems and have them play above their position. That usually will work for a team if you got Tom Brady as your quarterback. And because, believe me, he was able to overcome a lot of transgressions and a lot of sins and a lot of misses that they had either in free agency or when it came to the NFL draft. Well, that guy's not there anymore. You don't have a guy like that, a quarterback right now, where if things go awry, you got a quarterback that's going to have your back. They don't have that in Mac Jones. So if they're going to employ this Patriot way, where are the dudes that scares people that are not on the defensive side of the football? And right now, they don't have that person. Everybody in the division, they have dudes on their teams. Whether it's Miami, and I know we're talking about a little bit of injury issues, but you got Jalen Waddle, and you also got Tyreek Hill. The New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, we know he's a dude, but they also have Allen Lazard and Garrett Wilson. And now they bring in a Dalvin Cook to help out an offensive line that's sketchy at best. They look at the Buffalo Bills, but it's still Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. And then what do? They go out and get a James Cook. They get a Latavius Murray to make sure that it's not going to have your best running back being your quarterback. And then they draft the Dalton Kincaid, the outstanding tight end out of Utah. You go up and down those rosters, and there's dudes that will help the Patriots that they don't have that everybody else has in the AFC East.
Freddie, let's move over to the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis out 4 to 6 weeks, plantar fasciitis. He's not going to play in the World Cup. Celtics say he'll be okay for camp, but this is a guy you just acquired. It's a guy that you've given a new contract to. Any worry level with Porzingis right now?
A little bit, because anytime I hear plantar fasciitis and you're above 6'5", I always worry about that, because when you have that kind of frame and that kind of physique that he has, the last thing you need are potential foot issues that can compromise exactly what you need him to do, where he can be a pick and pop guy, you can post him up inside, and especially his length on defense. If that's going to be compromised by the fact that he's a plantar fasciitis, then yeah, there's a little bit of concern. And you can clearly tell that he thought about that as well, because it could have been very easy for him to say, well, I'm going to play for my country. I'm going to be out there and I'll figure it out later. He said, nope, I love my country, but this is my priority. I'm here to help this Celtics team not just get to the NBA Finals, but to get there and win an NBA championship. And if I'm an injury-plagued person at the beginning of the season, I got to try to push that boulder up the hill. And we know how that happens, Brady. It never ends well for you. It always ends well for the boulder. It never ends well for the human being. And the last thing you want to do if you're Kristaps Porzingis is to go out there and put yourself in that position where you know you're here to help your basketball team. The World Cup's not going anywhere. They have a chance to do that 4 years down the line. But they are pretty ripe right now in Boston that the Eastern Conference could be theirs. And the last thing you need is a guy that you bring in. You signed that kind of not a 1-year contract, but a 2-year contract. And then you got to worry about him having injury concerns at the beginning of the year because he decided to go out there and play in the World Cup for his team to qualify for his country to qualify for the Olympics.
Freddie, we'll get you out of here on this because we got to get booking here. Red Sox baseball is going to start in a couple of minutes. But speaking of baseball, we got the Little League World Series on in the studio today. Have you ever been to the Little League World Series?
Oh, I used to go every year. When Mansfield University, I went to school at, it's an hour north of Williamsport. So anytime we would have our football camp for the 2 weeks or close to 2 weeks, after we had the last day of football camp, the whole team would go down to the Little League World Series. 4 years I played football at Mansfield University. It was something that I will always treasure and will never forget. And I'm going to make it a point that me and my wife are going to get back there sooner than later because it's been more than a minute since I've been at Lambeau Stadium in Williamsport to have a chance to be involved in what is a great event in a hallowed ground in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's awesome. I went there once. I was there for 1 day, but I have been there, and it was a lot of fun as well. Freddie Coleman, ESPN Radio. Freddie, we will talk next week. Congratulations again on all the success. We're all pumped for you.
And I really appreciate those kind words and the great support, Brady. Can't wait to talk to you in 7 days, my friend.
Absolutely. Freddie Coleman, ESPN Radio, getting his own show. He's already had his own show for 20 years, but his own show in a more prominent day part. We are pumped for him. Yeah, World Series, Little League World Series is a great event. I went in 2013. I'm wearing my Little League World Series shirt right now. I was there for a day. I remember seeing Connecticut take on Washington. I remember checking out a couple of the international games as well. It really was a lot of fun. And by the way, Freddie says a lot of what I said before Freddie came on about the Patriots and identity. They don't have one. He said something like mishmash football does not work in the NFL unless you have a top 5 quarterback. That's why you have to pick a lane. That's why you have to pick a lane. The Patriots haven't picked a lane, and as a result, they have a mishmashed roster. They have some pieces in the passing game. They have some pieces in the run game, and people think that's great because it represents balance. It does represent balance, but they also don't really have a calling card. They don't have anything they can lean on. And that worries me as week 1 approaches here. We're what? Like we're 24 days away, I think, from week 1, at least of that first Sunday, right? There's that Thursday game beforehand, but I think we're 24 days away from week 1. It worries me. Danny, cue the Red Sox music. Red Sox are 63-56. The Nationals are 53-67. Battle of lefties today on the mound. James Paxton going up against Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore, one of the key pieces that the Nats got last year in the Juan Soto trade. James Paxton, 7-3 with a 3.36 ERA. Gore, 6-9 with a 4.62. He does have great stuff, though. We see the Red Sox lefty lineup today. Rob Refsnyder leads off in left. Justin Turner is the designated hitter. Rafael Devers is at third. Trevor Story's back at the lineup at shortstop today, hitting .318 through his first week or so back in the big leagues. Adam Duvall is in center. He bats fifth. Alex Verdugo is the right fielder. He bats sixth. Pablo Reyes, there's that man back in the lineup again. He's the second baseman batting seventh. Tristan Casas is providing pop down at the bottom of the order. He's the 8 hitter. And Connor Wong is the catcher, and he bats ninth. For the Nationals, C.J. Abrams, another guy who brought over in the Juan Soto trade. He's at shortstop. Lane Thomas is in right with those 20 home runs this year. Joey Meneses is the designated hitter. He's got 11 home runs. 4 Nationals have double-figure homers right now, same as the Red Sox, at least in this lineup. Keibert Ruiz is the catcher. Had that big shot last night down the line. He's the cleanup hitter. Stone Garrett is the left fielder. Got some power for the Nats we saw last night. Dom Smith, the old Met, is at first. Ildemaro Vargas is at third. And, oh my goodness, who's that former Red Sox name right there at second base? That's none other than Michael Chavis, the former Red Sox, playing second. And batting ninth for the Nationals is a center fielder, Alex Call, the 28-year-old, who's hitting just a $199 this season. Thanks to Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio for joining us. We also spoke to Tom Caron of Nesson. Those interviews will be available shortly. The TC interview is already up. The Freddie Coleman interview will be available momentarily on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel. Thanks, as always, to Danny McKivergan. Thanks to you all for listening. We'll be back again on Friday. Red Sox baseball bumps us tomorrow, so we'll see you again on Friday. Go Sox, 3 games back of the wild card, entering tonight. Go Sox, James Paxton versus Mackenzie Gore, next on the evening.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station.